Welcome everybody to a new episode here with my guy, Jose Sanchez. 49ers actually had the day off today. Quite surprising since it is a Thursday. Yesterday, we didn't go live. Life happens. Things got in the way, so we didn't go live yesterday. And here we are today. We didn't want to miss another week from you. I tend to always say, hey, Jose, let's go next week. I have something going on. But we're here. We didn't miss it. 49ers have the day off, not us. How's everything going, Jose?
I know, ain't that true? We don't have the day off, never do. A lot of things going on. I saw Lou Williams sign with the Atlanta Hawks just now, so
it's the wings.
Now he's gonna get the wings and the nice, like the strip club wings and everything like that, which is a little weird. I don't think if I was at any club, regardless of what kind of club it is, I would order wings. I might be a little skeptical.
Apparently, they're known for that, but yes, I would absolutely be skeptical at the end of the day.
With the way they do, soul food fry, whatever, all that stuff, hey, I wouldn't put it past them, But if it was in California, hell to the no. No thanks. I'm okay.
No.
But we're going to talk about Tabor Pepper today, right? Like Mike McDonald's was talking about, the most controversial position battle is a long snapper.
Oh, no. Come on. So to let everyone know what we are going to be talking about here, it's not Lou Williams and his wings of choice. It'll be what you want to talk about, essentially, is the starting quarterback position. We're going to go through the benefits of Trey Lance starting as the quarterback, the benefits of Jimmy Garoppolo starting as the quarterback, the cons of Trey Lance, the cons of Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Jose and I are just going to give our final verdict to where we're going to list these things out, try not to be one-sided, but then we're going to make our decision at the end. What I say is try not to be one-sided is we're going to give two tales, of the story of the image, rather than just saying Trey Lance. We could at least list some benefits of Jimmy Garoppolo. That's kind of the purpose of this exercise here, because I know there's a lot of people that say, hey, start Jimmy. They went 13-3. It is what it is. But obviously some people feel Trey Lance should be starting, which I'm kind of on that spectrum as well. So let's kick it off. Jose, real quick, if you guys are this far into the stream already, haven't hit that like button, literally takes you less than a second. Hit the like, subscribe, comment below, share to your friends, share to your family. Even if they're a Seahawks fan, that's another reason for you to share with them.
Or a Ramley.
Or someone that's within the Ramley. They're going to want to see it because Jose is public enemy number one with the Ramley since he said they have 3 defenders on that field last year and they took it all. What about Darius Williams? What about Fuller? What about blah, blah, blah? And so, yeah, John. Yeah.
Leonard
so
Floyd.
they went crazy with it. But let's go ahead. We're going to go with the benefits, starting off first, cons second, and then the final verdict last. So we're going to kick it off with Trey Lance. The benefit of starting Trey Lance.
Oh, my God. It's so easy to nitpick here. Not even nitpick, just to lay it out. The benefit
lay it out. Come on. Lay it out.
The benefits is obviously what's the most thing that's getting hyped up about him, or not hyped up about him. What's the thing that's right now it's getting... The only way he's seen first team reps, which is like 2,
his natural running ability.
So no matter what, if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start or not, which this is what Ted Wynn of the Athletic said to me a couple months ago, is like, hey, Trey Lance is going to get in there, whether it's passing or run option, but he's skewed more towards you're going to see short yardage run option plays for him, like a 3rd and 5 or goal line, whatever, just because there's so much new dynamic, and now it's going to put, personnel strain on the defense. But I think that's obviously the most clear-cut number one. You open up another dynamic into your offense that Kyle can call. The boots now mean like, hey, either he's going to boot and dump it or look for another option, or he's going to tuck it and run. So now boots don't become 1 or 2 dimensional. It becomes 3 or even 4 dimensional. If there's another way that Kyle can somehow concoct it, which I wouldn't put it past them. That's a clear-cut number one. His mobile ability, he can run, he can do options. Number 2, the benefit of Lance starting is you kickstart his development, and I think it's the most crucial, and it's why he has to start week 1 no matter what, even if he hasn't totally beaten or doesn't really tie Jimmy Garoppolo's level, which even though so far it sounds like he's beating him in terms of just because he's a rookie. I've always been on the mindset that no matter what, you start him, and ideally he comes relatively close to almost where Jimmy Garoppolo is in practice in terms of impact or how he's looking. He never had to beat him in my head. He never even had to tie him. It's just so far, if he was only like a level 2, maybe even 3 off, like, okay, like we could see he's running the offense. He's making some plays, some mistakes here and there. Jimmy Garoppolo looks a little bit better, but still roll with Lance because kickstart that development right now, because what's the big thing about team structures nowadays? It's that rookie contract. And I'm personally of the mindset of I think it's really idiotic to bench your guy for a season if that's the way everyone's still thinking. And for the counter arguments is Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, like outliers. Really, you're gonna bring up outliers? How did Justin Herbert work out? All these other Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson started like week 7 or 8, but still the point is
it was year 1.
Yeah, it's
still
year one. And ideally to me, especially since it sounds like this guy has a firm grip. I mean, here's a quote that Mike McDaniels literally said yesterday that I used in an article today. He said, Lance, he's getting to the point where he can correct other players, which from a coach's perspective is all you're looking for. The guy is correcting players, and think about it. He's playing, he's second team players. But how many of those second team players have already been in the system? And he, for the good majority of his reps, or if not a good portion, he's been throwing the ball to George Kittle, Ayuk, Samuel, and like actual veteran, skill players. So the fact that this guy he's more than knee deep in the playbook. I'm pretty sure he's almost like to his torso in that sense. And that's where it comes where the mechanics conversation now is like, hey, how's he looking on that front at least? So that we can actually execute the ball getting out there. So ultimately, other than just, raising the ceiling in terms of his running ability, which I think is the most unique that he brings to the table that will better the offense than Garoppolo, is just kickstart that rookie contract, kickstart his development, stop wasting away games. You live and die by his growing pains in the first half of the season, and hopefully if he is the player you think you are, and you are the coach that you think you are, Kyle Shanahan, quarterback coach Rich Gangarello, Mike McDaniels, everyone who's working with him, then you hope that after like the 5th or 6th game, he's already that pick he made in the first few seasons, the first few games, that incompletion he missed or whatever, that it's rounded out and he's looking better by then, hitting his stride. I mean, you saw that with Herbert immediately, even though he hit the ground running, but he still was getting better. So to me personally, kickstart that ability, let him develop, so that way you don't prolong what he can be in year 2.
Yeah. Also, it's the benefit is. I'm going to say with him starting week 1, the benefit of him starting week 1 is you avoid that awkwardness of him coming in mid-season after a bye. So he comes in after the bye. Who do they play after the bye? The Colts.
Which right now looks kind of good. It kind of looks good with Jacob Eason out there. Supposedly.
Yeah, but against that defense look.
Yeah,
that defense look like you're going to move on from Jimmy to Trey, and then Trey's first game. They could come out with the win, especially if it's Eason out there, but he's going to have to play against a Colts defense in his first game ever as an NFL quarterback, compared to he would have had an opportunity to play against the Detroit Lions week 1. And then who else? I'm looking at the schedule here. Could be the Eagles, to where they're, but if they get Deshaun Watson, now it's a tough matchup if they get Deshaun Watson, because then the Eagles could be putting up points. Here's another benefit. It's you say he knows so much more, or that he's torso into the playbook. He could even be a little more than that, because he has a certain package that Jimmy doesn't even have to know, because Jimmy's not going to run that certain package. And we're talking about, RPOs, quarterback options. Who knows? He was working out on the side with Deebo Samuel on some things. Could be a couple more wrinkles for 5 extra plays or whatever it may be. So he may be even more than just a torso in. And then it's what you need from your quarterback isn't a guy that's going to have to throw for 350 yards per game. You don't need that. You don't need your quarterback to go out there and be Peyton Manning, go out there and be Tom Brady. That's not what this 49ers system is about. It's always going to be a higher elevation of a 50% run pass option. The run option is going to be a higher than 50% scale in this NFL. Trey Lance isn't going to be throwing more than 50% of the time unless they're getting blown out. Based on what I hear and see from this defense, I would not imagine that they get blown out very often. So the benefits of Trey Lance is you're not relying on his arm too much to where he could go out there and learn. He will be a rookie. He will be mistakes. Hell, you've seen Tom Brady make mistakes. And last season, Tom Brady didn't even know that the down was 4th down. You can't avoid mistakes. It's going to happen in the NFL, but you hope that he can learn from his previous mistakes. And with Trey Lance, you give him that opportunity to go ahead and do so. But there's just so much more benefit with a red zone. You give your defense looks based on what everyone's saying there at camp that's on the field, sharing the field with Trey Lance. It's a lot harder to know what's coming at you when Trey Lance is on that field against the defense. It may be the second string defense, but at the end of the day, a lot of these guys have been in the NFL for years. This isn't their first go around. They're not all undrafted Division II players out there that he's facing against. Some are close borderline Pro Bowlers in Tony Jefferson. So yeah, there's opportunity for Trey Lance to grow, and ultimately we're going to see more of what can be unleashed in the preseason. Obviously, Shanahan's just not going to throw the whole playbook on the table, but if there's not one quarterback option out there, I think there will. I think there will. To say there's not one quarterback option out there, I think it'll be a stretch to try to think Shanahan's not going to show that much of the playbook, because ultimately everyone's going to know it's coming in, and he may go ahead and decide to roll it out on like a 3rd and 2 in a preseason game, or hell, even a 3rd and 12 in a preseason game, just to see how they're able to block it, how they're able to look at it. 3rd and 12. It's preseason. You might even pick up enough yards to go for it on 4th down anyways, but you're able to get a look on what that option could look like with your offensive line and the talent level that you have out there with your offensive line. There's just a ton of benefits with Trey Lance. Obviously, the deep ball becomes an option for this offense now. So yeah, you could say, hey, I want to worry about Trey Lance's running ability, so we're going to stack the box. You go ahead and do so. He'll stroll out to his left a little bit, as we already saw, and hit a 50-yard bomb in stride. So he just unlocks more offensively than what you get from Jimmy Garoppolo. While he unlocks more offensively, you don't necessarily need him to do all of those things right out of the gate, because you do have a great running offensive system going on in San Francisco, to where you would hope it makes a quarterback's job a little easier, like it did with Jimmy Garoppolo, especially in that playoff run in 2019, where his job was pretty freaking minimal. It was essentially just don't turn over the ball and put our defense or our team in bad situations.
Yeah, Lance, like you said, Lance is going to raise that ceiling. It's just, it's inevitable. He's going to raise it even now, despite how experienced Garoppolo is, how entrenched he is already in Kyle Shanahan's system, which still, it's always like, how entrenched is he really in the system? Because how many times a game does he miss throws or leave so much meat on the bone? Jimmy Garoppolo is like one of those people that go eats wings and leaves all that meat. You'll look at that person like, bro, you have half of the meat on your bone right now. That's what Jimmy Garoppolo is, bro. Like, it's like, and it just doesn't it piss you off when you see people waste food? So that's what fans like yourself, when you look at that. I'm not a fan that pisses me off. It's like, dude, throw the freaking ball. What are you doing? Like,
this is a weird thing that it gets to me when you have a bomb pizza and there's people that don't eat the crust and say the crust is bomb. Not all crust is good. I'll admit to that, but I'm a crust eater. I'm a crust eater for sure. But even people that don't like the crust so much, they still leave like 3 bites of pizza before they get to the crust. It's like, come on.
I think I've seen that before. Not recently, because I know people that don't waste food. I see people like they'll just get a nice little clean crust. I'm all right, crust is cool. Because some crusts will be way too chewy. It's like, okay, I'm spending too much time chewing on this thing. I feel like a cow or something like that with eating grass. But yeah, no, dude, it's the same analogy, same metaphor. The way you look at it, that's pretty much like, what are you doing here? So with Lance, at least hey, he's eating that wing. He's eating that crust, So at least there's a chance there. But how about not just raising the ceiling on the offense? How about raising the ceiling on the defense? And this is why it's Kyle Shanahan needs to finally start giving this guy some first team reps. Because not only does he make the offense better, he's going to make that defense better. Why? What is his best skill? Run option and running the ball, being a mobile quarterback. Who do they face 4 times a year in the division? Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. What's one of their best throws? On the run, backyard football, or sometimes tucking it when they need to. That's going to better prepare them. And how much time have we heard critics and 49er fans continue to complain, why can't they stop the run quarterback? Well, first of all, majority of the league struggles against these quarterbacks. Second of all, they don't really have the way to replicate that in practice. They were using Richie James Jr. in 2019,
and he can't throw.
And
he can't throw
either. And personally, I still think Lamar Jackson is a better runner than Richie James Jr.
Yes,
I think he's a better athlete. Just everything. I think he's just better players in general. If they wanted Lamar to go out there and play receiver, he'd probably do that. That's how much of a freak of talent he is.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much, and D'Amico Ryan said it himself, like, hey, like, we're so fortunate. I'm so happy that we have like a guy who can get us ready to prepare for those running option plays, to prepare when you bounce it out, to prepare for those backyard throws. And he even emphasized, like, thank God we don't have a wide receiver either, because now you get the more face value look. So regardless, that's why I like how he's getting if he gets the first team reps now, they can be better prepared for it, because if Garoppolo gets the start, then they can still use Lance for scout team against that defense. They'll still get that look. But I think right now is the only time where it's really like
competitive.
So that now's the prime time moment to really set the bar, set the tone. And then not only that, you get Lance more iron shepherd iron, where now he's not going to have the easy, I'm just going to bounce in and run it, which pretty much what it sounds like. He's doing like half his throws and why he's excelling. Like, okay, try doing that against Fred Warner. Try doing that against Dre Greenlaw or Jimmy Ward if he's in the box or getting ready. Try doing that then. And then now he's going to start thinking, whoa, it's not as easy.
Not against Jared Maiden. Not against Jared Maiden.
No, Maiden's actually decent. I remember last year I was like, hey, Maiden's not bad, but
I've seen a bunch of video of him getting burnt this year, which is unfortunate. I want every guy to succeed. Yeah, but this year,
last year wasn't that bad. Okay, then yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Because I don't have faith in him. But anyways, yeah. So there goes your benefit on both sides of him, just at least the first team reps. But ultimately, like I just say, let's start the train rolling. Get him the first team reps, which the third session is tomorrow.
The Band-Aid off.
Please, enough waiting. What else are we waiting for?
Well, man, you're obviously a big Trey Lance guy, so there's obviously a percentage of Jimmy Garoppolo starting. It's not zero. It's not double zeros. Whether some believe it's at a decimal percentage or if it's at a 99.99%, there's still a percentage out there of Jimmy Garoppolo starting. So if that does happen, if Trey Lance doesn't force Kyle Shanahan's hand, what's the benefits of Kyle Shanahan rolling out with Jimmy G?
There's one benefit actually I thought of while we were talking, because other than that, I really didn't see what the benefit was. I mean, I'd say in terms of Jimmy Garoppolo starting, like you said, it's definitely not zero. It's probably very likely. I think it's going to be a toss up, like 50-50 in terms of him starting or not. Initially I was thinking, oh yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, you roll him out here, he should be more ready. He's seen it before, so there's nothing for him to expect. But then again, what's the knock against him? He always starts slow in the season, And even then, it's not just, to me, it's never been about starting a season slow for him. It's always been, this guy is a player who needs to be in stride in terms of he needs momentum. He needs game 1, game 2 to be good for game 3. And then you hope that he can sustain that, which he doesn't really do too often. You saw it in 2019 as well, where it's just like, okay, game manager, explosion game, Saints, game manager, explosion, Packers, so on and so forth. So it's to me, it's like, okay, you don't really. Yeah, it's the buildup, and that's not what you want. Like, okay, like I don't need this buildup because the offense is going to stay ultimately the same, other than that little wrinkle for the read option, maybe a couple more deep passes with Lance in there. Because ultimately, they're going to run the football, they're going to run down their throats, and that just adds a different element with Lance. So that's why the ceiling's better. But while I will say the benefits of Jimmy G starting, the only one I could think of is if you start Jimmy G, you can still roll out Lance for those run plays and maybe a couple of pass plays, depending on how they see fit or what they want to do with him. That's definitely the only way you can see it. And that, in that sense, kind of lifts the ceiling a bit, not to the same level as you outright start Lance, but it does still make a little bit of a difference, at least improves them, because now it's like, oh, great. Now you have like the Deebo Samuel plays. Now you have the potential of where you're going to go with Juszczyk, where you're going to go with Lance. And like I just mentioned like a little while ago about inserting him in plays, whether it's short yardage or they just want a big gain or just big play, whatever they see fit. Because if Trey Lance is starting, Jimmy Garoppolo is not seeing the field unless Lance is injured. That's just no way. So at least if Jimmy G starting, it's for sure 100%. He's going to see some plays in a game, like maybe like 3 to 5, however with the terms the situation dictates. So that's pretty much the only benefits of Jimmy G starting. You still get that dynamic, the best of both worlds, I guess. But that's pretty much the only way I could really see it, to be honest. Because I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is not really unique at anything. He's just really, like we said last time we were on here. You said like, oh, can he be an elite game manager? It's like, yeah, he can. Sure, he's a game manager, but that's the issue. That's the issue in itself. Where Lance, he's probably is still going to be that game manager, but at least he can take the lid off of that title and become more than that.
Yeah. With the benefits of Jimmy G starting, if it works out well and they win a ton of games, great. That's awesome. If it doesn't go well, there's a controversy that will go out, but say they start 2-3 or are, barely scratching at 3-2, had a terrible offensive game and the defense is the reason why they're at 3-2. There's one benefit there is you get a reset button on the season. And that's what the Baltimore Ravens used in 2018. The Baltimore Ravens used that reset button when they went from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. That reset button essentially got that team lifted up, got them energy, ran them into the playoffs. Yes, they lost in the first round to the Chargers, but I think they went on a stretch to where they only lost one game. When Lamar
Hurts
Jackson,
last season too, even though the Eagles were relevant, but Hurts, when he got injected in the final 5 games, they looked like a new team.
Yeah, they did look like a new team. So the benefit of starting Jimmy G is you have a reset button ready to use. You start Trey Lance. There's no reset button. You don't go, oh, this didn't work out with our 3rd overall pick, and now we're going back to Jimmy Garoppolo. That's like taking 20 steps back. Rather than starting Jimmy G and going to Trey Lance, you could take momentum steps forward. It's a reset button, and that's what you get with Jimmy G. And I don't think it will take them that long to where they're sitting essentially, say, 8 games into the year, and now they want to inject that reset button. No, I think it would be something simple as far as we're at the bye week. We're 6 games in. Let's go ahead and evaluate, or 5 games in at that point, and let's evaluate where we are as a team and go with Trey Lance or Jimmy G. So they're going to have that reset button at the bye week. While it may not be pretty or necessarily a great decision for Trey Lance to have his first career start against the Indianapolis Colts, well, it is a home game, primetime game. So there will be some energy in the stadium, and maybe that energy is what's able to propel him to get over the hump like Indianapolis Colts defense, similar to Colin Kaepernick's first start with the 49ers, to where it was a primetime game, Chicago Bears, a lot of energy in that building, and that energy obviously propelled him into having a great night. I'm not saying the two are the same type of quarterbacks. I'm just comparing the situations. But that's what you get with Jimmy G. You get the reset button. You don't get nothing new. You don't get nothing different within the offense. You don't get this new Jimmy Garoppolo that they've been saying. He's the same guy that's always been. From what I've heard from reliable people that have been at Santa Clara, I haven't been myself. I'll see them when they go to Los Angeles. But from what I heard, it's the same old Jimmy Garoppolo. No, there's nothing new. There's no the best training camp ever. No, it's the same guy. The only difference is he's healthy right now. He wasn't healthy last season when he was playing in probably 3 out of his 6 games, or hell, 6 out of his 6 games. He wasn't healthy, so he didn't look that good. So that's kind of why, like, Trey Lance is outperforming him in training camp right now. If Jimmy Garoppolo is the best he ever is right now, then it's like, why didn't they go draft Trey Lance a whole lot earlier and move on from Jimmy Garoppolo? If this is the best you're getting, no, he's the same old Jimmy Garoppolo. And if you do go with him, at least you have that reset button. You have something to get the people energy wise within the locker room, compared to if you start Trey Lance and say he's at 3-2 or 2-3 to start the year. You don't go to Jimmy G at that point. You just got to keep riding Trey Lance and hope it turns around from a record standpoint.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I like you get to give the team a second win, maybe insert them with energy, and then you have a chance to make Trey Lance look like a Superman. So that's always looks great. It's like, wow, look at this guy. Especially if it's that game. I mean, that's pretty ballsy to do. That's a huge gamble to risk at that spotlight. I think Shanahan will probably wait until that other game, the next game after that.
I think that's the Cardinals. Let me double check.
Yeah,
I think it's the Cardinals.
I think he might be more.
Oh no, it's the Bears. It's the Bears. That's a tough defense.
Think about.
That's a tough defense.
Anymore. It's not the same. Chuck Pagano's a quack. Kyle Shanahan's gonna roll over that guy. I don't. The Bears defense is not the same anymore without Vic Fangio. It's well, they don't have solid defense.
They don't have Fuller there either.
They don't have a ton of players who look good with them. But yeah, I don't really care. I like that idea. Imagine like Lance getting his first start and maybe Justin Fields is playing too at the same time. That's not a bad game to play to be a first time. I think that's something Kyle would do. That's something maybe I think I'd agree with, because you really want to put him in that spotlight. It's prime time against a playoff Super Bowl contending team, ideally of one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, if it works out, it's going to look way more better than he does against like the Bears, even if he does ball out. But yeah, I get what you're saying. That's like a nice little point, because history has proven if the rookie steps in, all of a sudden lights it up. It's like, hey, look what's this? Look, literally gives them, everyone feeds off it. But I think that might be starting already now with the way some of his teammates are already proclaiming him, already hyping him up, the way his coaches are in terms of, McDaniels, what he said, what's Kittle's saying, Fred Warner, all these players they're taking notice, so that's why I think that he can actually already have that chance when he starts off the season and starts balling out. But yeah, it still would remain the same too if he was like on the bench and Jimmy's like short sticking it, he has a ton of shortcomings. But yeah, other than what you said, I'm hard pressed to think of any benefit. I mean, I know there's probably going to be some people who see this and be like, Jimmy, Kyle 7-27 with Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's like the most
without.
Or without, which is the most like hoot thing. It's as if he's tied to Jimmy, as if you're comparing him to his backups. I would hope Jimmy Garoppolo starting caliber would look better than those backups.
The only one I don't like give the excuse to Shanahan on is he decided to go into the season with Hoyer. After the, he could have drafted Deshaun Watson. He could have drafted Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, that's right. That's his first year. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2017, I don't give him the benefit of the doubt. 17. 18, I do, because Jimmy Garoppolo is supposed to be your franchise guy. He gets injured, and now you're left with Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard. 2020, 2020. 2020, I give you the benefit of the doubt as well because it's literally the same exact scenario as 2018. So the only one that I don't give him the benefit of the doubt is 2017, but
no, 1,000%.
Like Hoyer still sucks. So let's not ignore that fact.
I remember when they signed him, that was more of like, hey, this is just a bare minimum desperate case. We can't draft a guy we like. And
I thought it was going to be okay. I was like, okay, well, Hoyer did have the Browns in first place when Shanahan was the OC. I was like, maybe they'll get 8-8 this year and then build off that the next year. Obviously, it was a 1-10 start until Jimmy Garoppolo got there. But
I thought it was a move like all teams usually do, like sign a veteran and then you hope to get the rookie you want, Broncos, Joe Flacco. Who else can you think of? Tyrod Taylor, Browns. Tyrod Taylor, Chargers too with Herbert. Plenty of situations like that. I thought that
Bills.
was pretty much what was replicating.
Tyrod Taylor, Bills, right?
Tyrod Taylor.
Well, because they went.
Did they start Josh Allen week 1?
Yeah, I think they traded him though. That same offseason.
Yeah, they traded him. They knew they were doing that guy.
To the Browns. They traded him to the Browns.
I remember EJ Manuel was the holdover for Tyrod Taylor too at the time. What abysmal 2 quarterbacks they were in idea making. They lucked out with Allen.
Yeah, they did. Let's see if you could come up with any cons for Trey Lance since you're such a homer.
I'm a homer. Okay. I'd probably make the same argument with Justin Fields. So, I guess I'm an Andy Dalton hater too. I would say the cons is, and I'm actually going to write an article about this next week when the preseason comes up, is all this hype that Trey Lance has right now, right? He has all the momentum in the world, even with pads on. Although personally, to me, I don't think pads makes it different when you're throwing the pass because when you're a quarterback, it's just not getting hit. I'd say is depending on how much run he gets in the first preseason game, second preseason game, third, whatever. And he probably is going to get some run in the third preseason game because that's 2 weeks out or so from the regular season, and Shanahan's elated by that. From preseason game, you can equate this to week 1 is how is he going to fare when he takes his first hit? Is he going to start being weak-minded? Is he going to start being scared? Not saying he
first hit where? Inside the pocket, running, exactly. First hit where?
And who – yeah, inside the pocket, he gets drilled on a throw because he's holding it too long, or he's like, oh wow, it's not practice anymore, and all of a sudden, like he's afraid. I think that's the number one con. Easily is that's where you get tested, and that's personally to me why I think, hey, let's start the first team reps now. Let's get him ready for that hit in preseason, and if he does become a starter now, oh cool, I don't regret giving those first team reps because he is my starter, and at least like now, like even though like you still can't replicate those hits in practice, you can to a degree, obviously, and closely to in preseason, but how's he going to fare when he sees Aaron Donald coming to him? How's he going to see who's actually someone good on the Lions that I can talk about? That's a defense that can pass rush. Is Flowers still on the team? Trey Flowers?
Yeah, Trey Flowers is still there.
How's he going to fare with Flowers coming down his neck? That's something I think is going to be the real telltale sign for me, and it's the biggest con of them all. And I think another one you can throw is, how is he going to fare when he's deciphering coverages? I mean, maybe I think that's the least of my worries. It's still a worry because he's such a smart player in the way it's describing and how he's taking on the playbook. But I think ultimately, if I had to pick one, it's definitely how is he going to fare when he's taking the hit or pressure in his face or when he gets sacked or even makes a mistake. Because one thing you're making a mistake in practice, which, as much as you would think it's an indicator or you'd hope it is, live game situation when it is on the line and these are limited moments for you, 7-10 game is even with an added game. These are still small games that you can't mess up per se. So I think that's 1,000%. What I'm looking forward is how he's going to fare with the pressure, taking the hits, and even a mistake.
I get this sneaky feeling that Trey Lance is a guy who reacts well to pressure. The way he just works so hard as far as what you hear from his work ethic, one of the first guys in, first guys out, consistently training when they weren't at the facility, studying his playbooks and, being already correcting guys, what they're supposed to be and do on the field. So to me, that reads as he's someone who wants to be in the spotlight. So I'm not too concerned about the stage being too big for him. What I would be concerned about is basically what I touched on last point with the benefits of starting Jimmy G is there's no refresh button. There's no restart button. You don't get a mulligan if you start Trey Lance and say in their first 5 games they end up 2-3 because Trey Lance is coming a little short. It's not going to be training camp. It's not even going to be preseason, because you would imagine in the preseason he's going to face those second team defenses like he's doing in training camp right now. Training camp, the second team defenses can't hit him. And then in the preseason, yeah, he could look sharp against them, but it's still not a number 1 defense in the NFL. Doesn't matter if he's playing the Chargers or the Chiefs or the Raiders or whoever they have in the preseason. It's going to be different than facing a number 1 defense. Even if someone's number 1 defense, we may not say, oh, they're good. They're not good. Excuse me. They're the 32nd ranked defense. Well, that's still a big difference than a team's second string defense. A huge difference. So if he's just getting all that run because Kyle Shanahan wants to be stubborn and say he's not rolling with the ones or things like that, because essentially he is rolling with the ones. If he's throwing the ball on 7-on-7s, 11s on 11s to Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel, yeah, he's essentially rolling with the ones, but with the second string offensive line and second string defense. But it's with his number 1 playmakers. So that chemistry is going to be on lock. It's just going to be having that learning curve against the throwing windows on a number 1 defense. The NFL disguises pre-snap of an NFL or NFL number 1 defense, because with the number 1 defense of a team, you could show something pre-snap and then get out of that as soon as that ball snapped and just run into something completely else, the complete opposite of what you showed, not something parallel. You don't second string defense in the NFL. You don't really have that luxury to do those quick diagnostics. Division II football, you didn't have the luxury to go ahead and do that. So pre-snap looks is going to be something completely new to Trey Lance. So if he does struggle out of the gate a little bit with that, reading the defenses, I could understand that. I don't think he'll have a problem knowing this complex playbook. I think he will be completely fine. Everything I've heard and seen from Trey Lance, the guy knows how to work a playbook. He understands a playbook. And like you brought up earlier, he's putting guys in their spots right now. So the playbook's not an issue. To me, it's just the pre-snaps and the exotic looks and number 1 NFL defense could show you. And if he's not getting those looks now, that can make him struggle a little bit.
And I think ultimately both our cons are growing pains,
Yes,
it's like,
absolutely. Yep.
It's like, if we're saying that, then okay, that kind of fuels our point to start him week 1, expedite his development, because he could still be like this in season 2, in year 2 in his contract. And that's, you learn by doing, man. That's always been my motto, like in anything in life. And I think most people would agree. You can't just keep looking at a tablet and thinking, okay. Now it's time to get your feet wet. It's time to figure it out and put pen to paper. Do it. So even if he is freaking out by the pass rush, takes a hit. Okay, maybe if he is struggling deciphering coverage, throwing to the wrong thing or whatever. But that's a point. You take this game by game or even quarter by quarter of a season. Okay, how do you do weeks 1 through 4, games 1 through 4 versus games 5 through 8?
Should I just roll this right into the cons of Jimmy G starting? Because it sounds like that's where you're rolling with.
You could, yeah, sure.
Okay, let's roll right into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same.
Yeah, finish your thought. I was just saying.
No, the same benefit of why you want him starting is the same cons of why why is the cons of Jimmy G starting. You prolong his development, you purposely sabotage your own investment. Like, what are we doing here? We want to see how it looks like, right? Like, it's like, okay, we bought this new car, but is it going to run well? Let's go see how it works. You can't
drive it. Sits in the garage. You can't drive it.
It's going to sit there, collect dust. Like, okay, it has all the parts. It seems ready, but how's it really going to fare? And it's almost like it's like something some real mechanics. And I know some people who literally will build a car from scratch in terms of like the motor and the engine and all such like that. How is it going to fare once you actually get onto that track? How is Trey Lance going to fare? He's just there collecting with the pen and paper, clipboard, headset on, figuring, okay, great. That's cool. That's beneficial, I guess. But It's not going to be, he could still be doing that while he's on the field and applying it and expediting it faster. You know, why keep him on the treadmill walking like negative miles per hour when you can get him on a nice jog or a sprint and have him, okay, now let's get this wheel rolling. It seems it's literally no point. They traded 2 picks and spent essentially, no, they spent 3 picks because they drafted him with 1 pick, 3 first-round picks for this guy. You're just gonna burn that year away or burn as many games, even if it is like a game or 2 or just 5 or 6. Like, it's like great, but they're gonna look worse by not starting on week 1 versus if they did start on week 7 and he looks like he's great. But then, of course, you know, some people are gonna be like, how would you know he's gonna look great if he didn't start? Well, whatever. The point is, you start him now. Let him learn. You know, when you're starting a new job, how long of training do you need before you actually just get out there? Even if you do mess up the first week or 2, you hoped. The idea of the hope is you're better the next 2 weeks or so, right? So, I mean, what's the worst you're going to get? Like, the same thing with you, Leo, in our stream. You know, I'm sure, like, when you start this off, it was kind of tough, but you hope, like, the first month is not the same as the second month. You know, you grow. Right. So as much as, like, you got help or you read or something, it's the same. So, you know, the same thing with anyone else. So the point is of having him sit back, like, okay, it's great, but ultimately all that learning, what if he can't apply that still and then you just wasted it versus you just started him? So that's the con of Jimmy G starting because he's not your future. Jimmy G's not getting better. I mean, I pulled up a notes that I was going to roast him with on Twitter, and I'll say it right now. Here's some training camp notes I did from last year because it sounds the same thing in games and the same thing this training camp. Jimmy Garoppolo got picked by Richard Sherman. He forced a throw high to Kendrick Bourne, and it sailed on a play action. Garoppolo throwing too many ill-advised throws. Tart should have easily picked him off. Garoppolo made 2 unacceptable throws. Simple swing route throw. I remember this. Simple swing route throw, which coincidentally is almost the same throw he threw to George Kittle that he got him injured in week 1. He misses way off. Easily could have been picked under pressure. He throws it's the same thing. It's just, you know, lather, rinse, repeat. Why not just let something exciting happen? And I know everyone keeps thinking like, oh yeah, when's the last time a rookie quarterbacks won? Or
when was the last time the 49ers won a Super Bowl?
So even Shanahan diffused that narrative. He says, yeah, I've seen that stat, but ultimately you just play the best guy who gives you a chance to win. And if it's Lance, then yes, which it is Lance. You know, and again, I understand that. Okay, if you want to keep both the quarterback, sure, but the point is just let's let him start. Let Trey Lance start, man. Aren't fans excited for him? I don't know why 49ers fans still want Jimmy to start. And come on, man. The
last hurrah.
Dude, the only reason why 49er fans are so enamored with Jimmy Garoppolo is because I compare him to a person, a guy or gal stuck in the desert, almost on the brink of death until someone shows up and brings them water and food. That's Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of handing the 49er wins in 2017. And in terms of not only with the wins and giving hope, but a quarterback finally, because they were stagnant for 2-3 years without, I mean, even Kaepernick in his down years wasn't that great anymore. So that's pretty much what it felt like. You know, and I've seen other fan bases do the same thing. You know, the Raiders with Derek Carr, they think he's a god out there just because they haven't had a quarterback for years. So it's time to stop living in those moments and just see for what it is. Your team's getting better. Your coach thinks it is. Figure out. So let's see what he has.
So, to me, the biggest con of Jimmy G starting, it's per Shanahan. Trey Lance will start once Trey Lance gives the 49ers the best chance to win. So if Jimmy G is rolling out there week 1, that means to me, Kyle Shanahan does not think Trey Lance gives him the best chance to win. And that's the biggest con. I think that's the biggest con because if Shanahan really wanted this guy, invested 3 first-round picks on this guy, and you come week 1 of the NFL season and he doesn't give your team the best chance to win, that's a freaking con. Like, that's the biggest con you could have is Jimmy G rolling out there. Everyone in the media that we talk to says it. Trey Lance is blowing Jimmy G out of the water. Trey Lance is blowing Jimmy G out of the water. Rip the Band-Aid off. It's quarterback competition's over. All of that you and I have heard from the people we talk to that have been there present, in person. Not people just giving opinions. People that were in person there. So after all that performance, your head coach the guy that went out to get you still does not think you give your team the best chance to win, yeah, that's a huge red flag there. And a con with starting Jimmy G, it's your offense is back to basic. You have Deebo Samuel running jet sweeps and putting his body in a position to take on more contact than what a wide receiver is supposed to. Running backs train a certain way during the offseason to get their body ready. Wide receivers train a certain way to get their body ready. Deebo Samuel, I can guarantee you, is not training with the mindset of a running back to take on all of those hits. Deebo Samuel is training to be a wide receiver, to be one of the best route runners in the league, to catch, to get in and out of his breaks. That's what he's training for. He's not training to take on contact. So that's why his body may seem a little more brittle to what fans, want to see, because he's not out there all 16 games. Well, he's taking a lot more contact than a wide receiver is supposed to take. Well, now he's going to take some more because Jimmy Garoppolo is starting. Brandon Ayuk's not able to, take that year 2 step in because there's going to be certain routes that he can't run with Jimmy Garoppolo in at quarterback.
Or he'll run it, Jimmy won't hit him.
Or Jimmy won't hit him. We've seen Dante Pettis do it week 1 last year, where Dante Pettis was actually quite fairly open on some of those. Obviously, I'm not going to act like I know the reads or the process into that. Like, one of Dante Pettis was a third read, and it's easy to just look on tape and be like, hey, he's open. But if he's the third option on the route tree, then obviously he's probably not going to get the ball if option 1 or 2 is wide open as well. But based off that performance, it was not good for Jimmy Garoppolo. Con of Jimmy Garoppolo starting is, all right, you bench Trey, you're going to send Jimmy out there. What does Jimmy do? He struggles week 1. 2018, struggled against the Vikings. They lost. 2019, struggled against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He threw a pick against against the Vikings. I think he threw 2.
Didn't he throw multiple picks as well? I think he 6.
I think he just threw the 1.
Okay.
And then 2019, it's how do you think they won? They won by 14 points. Oh, that's 2 interception returns for touchdowns. Got it. So that was the difference there against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then last year, didn't play good again. Week 1, lost to the Cardinals. 3 straight week 1 performances.
He's not getting better.
That have been ugly. 3 straight of them. So what if that's 100% ugly performance week 1? What the hell do you think is going to happen this year if he goes out there rolling for week 1 against the Detroit Lions on the road? It's not at home. It's just like the previous ones outside of the Cardinals, which did that even feel like a home game considering there was no home chance in there? So it's just, if you go out there week 1 with Jimmy, you put yourself in a position for a disappointing performance based off the previous 3 week 1 starts, and you're basically telling everybody that Trey Lance doesn't give you the best option to win. You're telling everybody that. And you're telling everybody that because you literally, like, I heard Grant Cohn say it after practice the other day, talking about when does he literally asked Shanahan straight up, when does Trey start? Like, how does he win? You say there's no quarterback competition, but how does Trey Lance win? He said once Trey Lance gives him the best opportunity to win. So it's like he's been on record saying that multiple times. And so if he ain't rolling out there week 1, I don't think that's a good look for Trey Lance being out there, because then you could just always say like, hey, our plan is for Jimmy to start week 1. Our plan is for Jimmy to start week 1. And then if a reporter asks you like, oh, how does Trey Lance get out there week 1? You'd be like, we'll see, but our plan is for Jimmy. Like, you could just we'll see. Our plan is for Jimmy at the moment. Not answer with when he gives us the best chance to win. Because if Jimmy goes out there and he underperforms, you're giving guys like Grant Cohn a field day to go out there and be like, wow, you had Jimmy out there because you thought Trey Lance didn't give you the best chance to win. I still ultimately think they'll beat the Detroit Lions, but it could be like a Tampa Bay Buccaneer performance. It could be like a Tampa Bay Buccaneer performance or a Pittsburgh Steelers performance where the 49ers still ultimately win, but it was ugly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely would be. It'd be a slight towards Lance and slight towards Shanahan because you could interpret it in many ways. Is Shanahan being stubborn or is he being conservative? I think he'd probably be more conservative. Maybe he just would rather. I think the reason why I could see a reason why he lets Jimmy start, and that's only because hey, you're gonna start, but you're on the thinnest margins ever. And I think it could literally be as easy as like two of those first games.
Do you think Shanahan has that much love for Jimmy to be like, hey,
yes.
No, yeah,
I think so because not unless we'll see. I think it'll be telling these next 3 practices starting tomorrow if he starts to up his first team reps because I think ultimately why Shanahan has been reluctant because it's only been 7 days of practice is he wants to still break him in. He wants to still keep a fire under Lance to show him, hey, I'm still not budging. But in a way, he kind of is by letting them throw to the starting skill players, So that's something I'd say that's inspiring. And he keeps letting it up. At some point, you got to challenge your players. So when they're talking about competition, it's like, hey, challenge your player. Let him get some looks in the first team reps. Because at least like even if it's not a competition, you want to challenge him because it's not a challenge anymore. At some point, he's going to start playing lower to the competition. You don't get better by playing, and that's always been for us as athletes or anything. You don't play better by playing with lesser opponents. You're just going to be doing the same thing. You play better by playing equal talent or someone that's better than you, and you take some L's and you come back and get stronger. Now, unless like you're a unique specimen, you play up to that talent and beat them as well. But that's why I think when Grant asked that, it's like, look, Shannon's not going to budge because he probably also still wants to keep Jimmy's trade value high if that is an option that they're keeping around. But I think in that sense that's why Lance is not seeing reps, just to keep him fighting, not to hand him anything. Think like, hey, it's not that easy because when last time they handed someone easy, Garoppolo, he just didn't get better. He didn't. I just said it right now in my notes. It's the same notes that everyone's been saying every freaking offseason. The guy doesn't get better. I was massively disappointed last year because I was still a Jimmy defender. I said they shouldn't go after Garoppolo because I think they shouldn't go after Brady following the Super Bowl, which, it still was a bold move regardless, I guess you could say, coming off that year. But because I thought he had hope to get better as a player, not just to get better as a quarterback because he was always rehabbing. And sure enough, he looked terrible. Every game last year, he looked terrible. He didn't look good at anyone. And then I said it on Twitter, and the masses came after me. He didn't look better. He didn't look good in what game did he look good in? The Patriots game, sure, he looked okay, but there's not a single game you could tell me he said he looked good. He looked okay, looked decent. They won the game, sure. But I mean, if these games were to replay itself and you put Lance in, I think they all look better in the terms of how they win. They probably win a couple more games at least. But I just don't see any way why, like you said, that's a huge con. You're already taking an L. You're kind of self-sabotaging your guy at that point. And it's the same thing why I think the Bears need to start Justin Fields as well. Like, what are we doing here? At least the 49ers have some case to start Garoppolo. He's an incumbent, and so I think just roll these guys out. What are we waiting for?
Yeah. So I think you're in your final verdict right here. Sounds like you're going Trey Lance.
Trey Lance all the way. And honestly, I've been saying start the rookie even before the rookie was drafted. I've been, ever since like late January, mid-January, once like I think like I said last week, the indicative was when Jimmy kept saying, I'm just ready to hit the offseason, ready to get to work. And it's like, oh, this guy got probably told that we're going to explore avenues. And then here comes the rumor about Deshaun Watson. Here comes about Matthew Stafford. Then even you have Teddy Bridgewater out there, Sam Darnold, and then they make the trade, and it's just like, wow, okay, like wow, like this is really happening, huh? So that's when it became evident. That's why I thought, like, hey, no matter what, the rookie needs to start. I mean, because you would hope that they're gonna get a top 5 pick, and top 5 picks generally are ready to start day one, or at least you want to just expedite them. So no matter what, whether it was Fields, whether it was they somehow got Zach Wilson, and even Mac Jones just looks bad, which I never thought he was a top 20 pick in the first place. But yeah, if they had Fields, I'd be saying the same thing. So ultimately, start Trey Lance. Even if it looks bad at first early on,
It's learning.
It's growing pains, baby. It's growing pains. It's not. They didn't make this move to go all in this year. They made this move to go all in for the next 5 years because they still can probably win this year.
They could win a ton of games with Trey Lance starting week 1 this year. Absolutely. I'm going Trey Lance. I'm someone who's always said, oh, Jimmy's going to start. But the show Trey Lance is putting on, I don't think I could say that confidently anymore. I don't. I feel like if I would just be putting on that smiley face and then you say you're like pissed off underneath, that would be me based off this prediction, because I probably should have said Trey Lance, but I said Jimmy. Trey Lance, I think he will start. I think he should start. I just hope that they do get him some first team reps in between time, so that he could see a Fred Warner out there. He could see a Jason Verrett out there. He could see a Jimmy Ward on George Kittle out there, so that he could see those matchups. He could feel what it's like having D Ford, Nick Bosa, or Samson Ebukam screaming down the line at him. He could feel those type of things. So I'm going with that verdict. But we'll see. We'll see ultimately what happens. Do you have any final thoughts?
Not really. Just, it wouldn't shock me if Jimmy got the start. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Because like I said, 50-50 either way right now. But if they start splitting first team reps and he looks good week 1 preseason, the pressure's on. Because Kyle did say, hey, when everyone recognizes it from the team to fan, whatever, then we'll make, like he said it, draft day when it happens. Yeah. So that's why I think the noise is going to be too loud. And already it's pretty loud as it stands. Trey
Lance is out there playing like he has nothing to lose. And while I salute Jimmy out there, after practice working on his deep balls, kind of what he had to do. Like this, he's not going down without. Yep, too little, too late. He's not going down without a fight.
Dude, why is the motivation kicking in now? Why he never did that last year in training camp at all? For the 5 I went to, he didn't. I mean, of course, 5 out of like 15 they have, but still, he never did that. Come on, and there was time. Yeah, dude. I used to have more notes somewhere. I don't know why I don't have. But the point is, like, it's too late, buddy. You can't just be like, oh, it's like when you have a bad grade and you go beg to your teacher when it's like 4 weeks left in the semester and like, is there anything I can do? It's like, son, you didn't turn in half of your assignments. You didn't do none of this. Why are you asking me now? You asked me literally a month before. You had a chance, but the month before was 2020, and now here we are.
Yeah, it's it's coming to an end eventually. The Band-Aid's gonna come off. They're gonna put the car into the garage forever, and just remember the Jimmy G era, because it did bring back life into this 49ers organization. They had a quarterback. They had the franchise guy everyone thought at the end of 2017. Unfortunately for everybody involved, the organization, Jimmy Garoppolo, and even the fans, because they have that emotional attachment. It didn't work out. Hopefully Trey Lance will, because obviously a winning 49ers team helps out our coverage. Mm-hmm. So come on, Trey Lance, you got this, kid.
Just remember, everyone, finish your wings and your crust. Unless it's
finish your wings, finish your crust. Don't be that guy to give away your sushi when you still have 2 rolls on the plate. Just finish the job.
That's terrible.
Finish the job. Appreciate all you guys here. Hey, if you're this freaking long into the video, you literally sat here and watched Jose and I for this long, hit the like, subscribe, send it to your friends, do whatever. You'll help out us supporting the channel and having us do big